Welcome everybody for the Dynamics 365 update webcast for October. My name is Wim van Voorthuijsen, PTS at Companail, and with me today is Chris Parkers, Business Development Manager for Dynamics 365, CRM and Power Platform as well. Because today we would like to highlight a few topics. First of all, I would share some news around Business Central. Then I will hand it over to Chris to talk you through about some latest news about Viva sales and also a NCE promo as well. Let's get started with the Business Central update. Here's the agenda, a few smaller topics I would say. Let's straight dive into them. First of all, earlier this month, of course, we had the Business Central launch event that took place at 10 October till 12. And good for your information that all sessions are still available on demand for you and accessible until January next year. And I've included a link for getting access for convenience. Then the Bridge to Cloud 2 promo. Recent news, it's the successor of the current Bridge to Cloud promo. And it has a sign-up period from January 1st next year until the end of 2024. And then you sign up for a fixed 3-year term with a 40% discount on the list price. Applicable to a new commercial subscription only. And incentives are in place. And it's good to know that it's commercial customers only, so no education or charity. And it's not available to customers which are already in the current promo. These are more or less the important bullet points regarding this Bridge to Cloud 2 promo. The full Microsoft announcement is in the link, and good to know for you being a Companion partner. We are preparing guidance for you as a partner, and later on we will inform you on how to leverage the full potential of this promo. So stay tuned. You could expect some newsletters, a webinar, etc. all around this specific promo. Then a short update on mixing and matching essentials and premium licenses for Business Central in the same tenant. We've spoken about it earlier, but I would like to highlight a few things once again. In earlier versions of the license guide, it was not allowed to have both essentials and premium in the same tenant. Earlier this year, that part has gone from the Business Central product license guide. So now you are indeed able to mix and match those license types within the same tenant, but of course not in the same environment. Good to know is that currently the Microsoft customer agreement is not updated yet in terms of allowing it. So although the Business Central product license guide is mentioning that it's allowed, Microsoft people are mentioning that it's allowed. The Microsoft customer agreements, which of course needs to be signed by customers, is still mentioning that it's not allowed. And it's good to know that we are currently chasing Microsoft to align those license guide with each other. Then tips, because we also already got several service requests around this topic on how to make sure that you are not creating a mess with essentials and premium licenses in same environments and so on. The tip and best practice is to create security groups per environment, so you can basically categorize all the essential users and the premium users, and you need to use the viral sign-up procedure to manage the users in those environments, because if you use the function within Business Central, the button sync users for Microsoft 365, this will cause errors because that function is not making any difference between the license types. And of course, it's not possible to have both license type in the same environment. I've included a link to the blog post I've written before on how to set it up and make use of it. And it's good to know for you that it's on the roadmap of Microsoft to make it easier to manage from within BC, because now with the AAD groups, the viral sign-up procedure, etc., it kind of feels like a workaround. But Microsoft is going to, has the idea at least, to enhance the sync users for Microsoft 365 feature, where you then will be able to select update only essential or update only premium user groups. So stay tuned for that. Next up is Business Central in relation to Teams, because from now on we are able to embed Business Central in a chat or in a channel. Within a certain channel in Teams, and you can add a page of a card from Business Central by using the plus button in Teams, and then you get a list of suggested pages which are available to include. Of course, you can also create your own by specific URLs. Good to know, it's for Business Central SaaS only, and developers can also create or make it possible to automatically create tabs in Teams by making use of Microsoft Graph API. And then also, like I mentioned before, you can make use of the plus button to add a tab of Business Central to your channel. Developers can customize the list of recommended pages you will get then. Next to that, a more major change is that from November on, you are able to access Business Central data only with your Microsoft 365 license, which include Teams, of course. So you don't need a Business Central license to read all those data with your colleagues with a Business Central license are sharing in the Teams, in the channels, etc. You are able to, for example, access cards of Business Central, even drill down into the card details. And of course, it's limited to the data you have permission to, which I come back to that in a minute. You will get a simplified UI, as you see in this picture. The item list overview, a rather simplified UI. And once again, it's for Business Central SaaS only and for select Microsoft 365 plans. You, of course, can expect that those are the Microsoft 365 plans with Teams licenses included, etc. It's a feature that needs to be enabled by the admin. And those admins can also choose which Teams users should really have access to those BC data within Teams, because you could also imagine that there are certain users which you don't want to share any Business Central data with. And so more fine-tuning and settings, etc., can be controlled by the admins. Then switching to autosave as you work, which is a feature of the new release, which is basically a save indicator. So while users are working on a specific card, they will see, once they made a change, they will see the saved indicator, so to say, which from a Microsoft perspective, as they explained, should lead to greater reliability in multitasking. But the major change is that field changes are now saved to the database when you are leaving the field. Come back to that in a minute. It applies to all clients, and even for on-prem, admins are able to manage it via the web service setting. But like I said, major is the change that field changes are now saved to the database when you are leaving the field. What about on modified triggers? Because in the past, maybe you have written some customization code or create apps or whatsoever, where you are relying on modified triggers. Formerly, you were able to change, for example, 5 fields. The user is closing the card, and then you have one on modified trigger. But now, if a user is changing, for example, 5 fields on a specific card, that leads to 5 unmodified triggers. And that, of course, has consequences for the performance. What about the impact on your existing code? If you're relying on modified triggers, there's a lot of complaints in the channel about this new feature. So Microsoft has listened, and a hotfix rollout is already in progress. And basically the change they made is to say, okay, we are giving the admins control to toggle this feature on or off in feature management. The original idea was the initial idea was to make it a feature which is deployed by default. Now they are putting it into feature management as optional. That will be reintroduced by the next minor. And it will be set on, so autosave will work, change a field when you're leaving the field and then it will be stored in the database. It will be set on for new databases on version 21, and it will be set off by default for environments upgraded from version 20. You could argue that it should be off by default also for new environments on version 21, but at least this is the current decision of Microsoft, and Microsoft is going to share best practices regarding how to deal with those unmodified trigger concerns. Those were the latest BC related updates. I would like to highlight that we as Companail, of course, are joining directions, and you could expect from us meet the expert sessions, some MCCP checkup sessions, specific offers, for example, regarding Academy, and of course, we will wrap up the whole directions event with the Companail business report, as you are familiar with. Please have a look at this link where we share all the information about what we are going to do at directions. And then my last point is I would like to remind you of the webinar which we will be held later today at 3 p.m. At least the Central European Summertime for Business Central 2022 Release Wave 2, where both from a functional as well as a technical perspective, we would like to share the highlights with you. And I guess that already in the chat, the link to register for that webinar, if you have not done already, is shared in the chat right now. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Chris to take you through other interesting topics.
Yeah, thanks, William. Kind of see what you've done there. Basically, you've said we've got a whole load of technical things to tell you that won't fit in this 1 hour, particularly with the Power Platform stuff. And so join us this afternoon. And so your session there was quite brief this morning. And I think will be the same with Power Platform and Dataverse this month also, because it's not been the slowest of news months. There's a couple of things that I want to cover today. Those things in particular, let me flick through to the agenda slide here. Let's make sure we're good to go. There we go. Viva Sales that we talked about on the call last month hit global availability, so that's now there. They also disclosed the pricing, which was interesting. Then there is a Dynamics 365 and Power Platform new customer promo from a SKU perspective that's worth discussing. Not just so much from the perspective that there's a discount available in market to all new customers, but also because some of the collateral that Microsoft have released as part of the kit that goes with this. And when you think about, as partners, how you go to market and the slides that you can use to present the vision that Microsoft have created around ERP CRM, I think it's the best thing. It's the best thing that I've seen Microsoft collateral wise in a long time. So I'm going to provide the link to download that as part of this call, and we'll put it in the slides that will get distributed after. I'm sure I'll try and drop it in the chat before the end of the meeting as well. So first up, Viva Sales, we talked about it last month. As I said, for those that are still uninitiated, Viva Sales is an add-on to Dynamics CRM, the Sales Premium, Sales Enterprise. Also works with Salesforce.com. There's a lot of capabilities in there. It's kind of around automated reminders about actions for salespeople. It's about conversation intelligence in meetings, in teams. It's about bringing information contextually into the Outlook pane and so on and so forth. If you need to learn more, please do take a look at the call last month. Won't cover it again here. There's also a link to the blog there and a link to the public website that talk about the kind of global availability. But Microsoft announced the pricing for it this month. So of course it's included as part of the sales SKUs, Enterprise and Premium. It's not included as part of Sales Professional. And for customers of yours that already have those SKUs, you're going to want to have a conversation with them about the fact that they can now have this functionality enabled as part of their existing licensing at no extra cost. And then if a customer doesn't have those SKUs, it's available for a $40 local currency equivalent per user per month, so every month. And although it's called Viva Sales, we looked at the Microsoft 365, the Microsoft Viva Suite. It's not included anywhere as part of the Microsoft Viva Suite. So it's clearly labeled on that website as an add-on. And that's the only way that you can procure it, either as part of one of the dynamic SKUs or through their add-on at $40 per user per month. So unfortunately, this means it's not available for Dataverse and Power Platform customers. So if you're at the per app or the per user licensing end of Power Platform, you can't add it unless you buy the qualifying attached SKU. So over the coming months, we'll have to dig deeper into what the Wave 2 2022 app mention capabilities provide at that level, and then the specifics of Viva Sales over and above that in the enterprise SKUs. I think there's a few other things to note here. So it's supported in almost every language that I think it's supported in every language that Dynamics is supported in. So more than those listed there. I thought it'd be wise to call out the specifics around the conversation intelligence. So the piece where it will take a transcript of a Teams meeting. So you're having a meeting with a customer or a prospect or a call through integrated telephony, it'll drive a transcript of that, and it will suggest actions based on things that were discussed during that, based on the kind of artificial intelligence usage. That conversation intelligence is available in a majority of languages in use across Europe, so English, German, Dutch, French, across Scandinavia, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Brazilian, but also Arabic, Hebrew, Japanese, and Chinese simplified, People's Republic of China. So the conversation intelligence there is built in. It can handle those languages. To install it, you have to, it's installable via the Microsoft 365 Administration Center by admins there. You need to assign users and security groups to the Viva Sales functionality in order for people to be able to use it. It's worth noting it's a cloud-only offering. This doesn't work with Dynamics 365 on premises. It doesn't work with Exchange on premises. By on premises there, we can also think about private hosted. So an on-premises implementation of Dynamics 365 in Azure, for example, it wouldn't work with that. Same from an Exchange perspective. When you look at the Salesforce SKUs, this is basically, it works with Dynamics 365 and it works with Salesforce. I've asked questions of Microsoft as to what else it's expected to work with. They can point out to me that Viva is designed to work with HubSpot, but not yet Viva Sales. So I'm hopeful there will be more coming down the line. But as yet, it's Dynamics and Salesforce only. And it works with Salesforce Professional. And you need to have API access enabled, and then it works standard with Enterprise Performance, Unlimited, and the developer editions there. The other links in this slide, there's a couple of links to technical articles, and this is from the Microsoft product support about how to use Viva Sales in both Outlook and Microsoft Teams. I only caught a glimpse of those articles in kind of the hour before we did this webcast, just doing some extra digging to see what I could find. Really comprehensive. So kind of listed web pages from product support about how to get this working and what you can do through each of the scenarios, how to turn it all on. So that's the piece on Viva Sales today. The second piece is around a new promo for Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. I'm not sure how many of you would have seen this email. Companail put it out on the old Yammer channels and on the Companail Yammer channels also. So this new customer promotion, it says it's a CSP customer promotion, but obviously it's only for new customers, and therefore it's only available on NCE or the new commerce experience. The promo is 16.67%. For new customer tenants, so it's got to be a new customer tenant, but it's listed as for all SKUs for Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, purchased through NCE, and it runs until the end of Microsoft FY23, so until June the 30th next year. Now, of course, we're not just going to blanket give you that information and say off you go. We looked at some of the detail here as well, so we could tell you the important bits rather than just the headlines. And when you drill into the detail, it does look like all of the Dynamics 365 SKUs are there, and also all of the Power Platform SKUs. But there are just a couple of omissions. If you look at kind of the Microsoft spreadsheet operationally that says this is in there, those omissions being Power BI Pro and Power BI Premium and Premium add-on SKUs, the per user per month ones. It's likely that those omissions are accidental rather than intentional, though. the Power BI P series SKUs, so P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, so the real enterprise type capabilities for driving capacity on a broad scale, and they're listed, so it makes no sense for those SKUs to not be there, given they're the SMB focused. And we've asked Microsoft for clarification on those SKUs. We'll find out for you. The good news is, though, that we can see no other SKU omissions from this list. So through the Companail marketplace, through the portal where you procure your SKUs, hopefully this discount will just be automatically applied. It is from Microsoft through to us, and we'll pass that on to you. And you don't have to pass this on to your customers. I guess that's the key here. If you're selling transaction at scale, you might want to consider that. If you are much more of a value add services provider, as I know most Companail partners are, especially those who join this call, you can think about using this as a hook to get your customers on. However, there's another thing that you can easily overlook when just reading the headlines here. This discount is only available for customers looking to adopt these Microsoft solutions without a yearly commitment. So for those of you that know NCE, you know how it works. You've got three options: buy on a 3-year term, pay up front, or pay kind of monthly, annually. Buy on an annual term, where you can pay up front or monthly, or you can buy on a monthly term and pay monthly. And that monthly, and those in buy and pay monthly SKUs, they've got a price premium on them. There's an extra 20% in comparison to the annual or the 3-year commitment SKUs. So the promo is only targeted at those customers who are choosing the monthly price premium option, as they've got a need for the flexibility there to go up and down. And Microsoft is saying, this brings it into almost price parity for their buy annually, pay monthly SKUs. So, where I see this best positioned, it's a really good option as a kind of a try before you buy, or indeed kind of commit to a longer term contract, or for proof of concept, for pilot type work, where you could use it as a low risk hook to get customers started, with the intention of potentially securing the annual commitment pricing from July 2023 onwards. So that for me is really where I could have a conversation with a partner and a customer about getting started with Power Platform, or getting started with Dynamics 365 sales, customer service, field service, and say, look, no risk. You're not going to be locked into the annual pricing to get the discount. You can just flex up and down on a monthly basis right now, with a similar level of kind of pricing, and we can kind of get those projects started. So that, I think, is it from a positioning perspective. But the best thing about this, I looked through the kind of the email, the announcement, and there was something in there that I think is just great, and it's the CSP new customer promo kit that's provided as part of their call to action here. There's the link. It will be so we'll make that available in the chat shortly, or and afterwards, as you get it in the slides. I've looked through the collateral that come with this. There's a fantastic, so Microsoft call it a telesales script. But it's the best thing to help salespeople understand really how to position and what to listen and look out for when having conversations about Dynamics and Power Platform with customers. It's much more than just a telesales script. If you need a telesales script, it's going to be perfect for that. But I'd encourage anybody who wants to kind of understand the positioning and how to position it to look at that telesales script. There's the standard sort of Microsoft stuff's in there, but there are also 2 fantastic presentations that you could use to deliver to your customers. And so I thought I'd preview some of the slides to you here today, just so you can see. And this is only a subset of what's in there. So obviously the slide there talks about how the low-code Power Platform can basically underpin everything that used to be in there from an apps perspective. You think about the amount of apps that customers have that they run for Excel, or they run in Access legacy, or they've kind of had custom written, and how the low code can take over that there, about how it's a single platform and how it's all interconnected. It's got things on there around the component parts and what the most powerful pieces are there. There's also a kind of presenter note. It talks about the fact that there's over 750 data connectors in those presenter notes, so it gives you the guide by guide about how to present this stuff. It's got demonstration type slides for Power Apps. It's got those also for Power Automate. It's got exactly the same for Power Virtual Agents. just kind of like rolling presentations. It's got the same for Power Pages, and it's also got the same for Power BI. Obviously, if you're going to land impact and kind of dashboard and reporting about turning insights into actions, it's all in there from a Power BI perspective. It talks about scenarios that businesses can get started with. It talks about the apps that, you know, we kind of said you already know, Excel and SharePoint, and how they are often hidden in an organization and IT might not even know about them. So how can you bring governance and security and compliance to all of those things? And that's where Power Platform fits. So I really love that presentation, and say that's just a subset of the deck, and you get a real feel for it just from there about what the kind of the storyline is. There's also more of a BDM type deck that talks about industries in transition. And I think this is much more targeted at kind of exec level sellers, because it talks about the fact that the Microsoft, we used to, so in the days when I used to work at Microsoft, there was always this conversation about the Microsoft stack. And we used to build up from the ground up the sort of the pieces or the building blocks that said, this is what Microsoft is about. And these are the technology parts that you can use for different things. This one takes a slightly different angle to start with. It talks about CRM and ERP, and it talks about the overlap. But it also talks about how organizations have a need to break down silos across departments. And, you know, those silos are often still not integrated completely. So if you want an integrated story, or you want to understand how the Microsoft solutions can pull this together, then the Dynamics 365 platform, underpinned by Dataverse and everything that goes with it, is the right place for that to happen. It then brings in the Microsoft stack, but in modern terms and in cloud terms. So they talk about the Microsoft cloud now, not the Microsoft stack, obviously. They talk about Azure being the source of all of the business data and artificial intelligence and the processes that underlie that. And real comprehensive kind of presenter notes here about Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, how they're built together, how they're designed to help organizations build low-code applications, create bots, and then with Power BI to sit on top to drive those kind of predictions or things into the future. It also talks about LinkedIn and Microsoft 365 and how those things hang together. So it's a pretty, it's an all-up Microsoft cloud deck, but then it goes to mention how the industry cloud and verticalization sits on top of that. So if you're familiar with the kind of the industry cloud specializations from Microsoft, there's a few of those that are out there now, and just how there's these templates for financial service, manufacturing, not-for-profits, healthcare, and retail in the industry cloud world that can be taken advantage of. So really great thing. Thanks, William, for posting the link to the promo kit. That's probably going to be the most hammered thing in the next 30 seconds after seeing this. It kind of closes on using Dynamics 365 to take the next step. And that, you know, there's 500,000 customers worldwide that use this. And then the final piece in the close to action is, you know what, act now. You've got this promo running until the 30th of June 2023. It says contact your partner. Obviously, as a partner, you're going to be sort of delivering this, but there's other things in there. It's just that drive to try and get people who've potentially been sat on the fence with Dynamics 365 or Power Platform, and just say, look, here's the vision, here's the strategy from Microsoft. So I absolutely love that collateral, and you saw there excerpts from two separate presentations. Recommend you go and download that and take a look at it. Complement that with the promo. And that is all from me today. So I guess what remains is to do a little quick check in the chat to see if there are any questions. Thanks, William, for posting that. Davile's put the link to the webcast, the more technical webcast that William will be running this afternoon. So if there's nothing else that's appearing, just remains to say thank you very much for spending the time with us. We know it's valuable and we appreciate it, and we look forward to speaking to you either later today with William and Jan on the business and technical update, or once again next month.